It is with great respect that we now welcome a visionary head of state, a defender of peace and development in West Africa. I have the honor of inviting His Excellency, Mr. Joseph Boakai, President of the Republic of Liberia, to kindly deliver his speech.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, recognizing the President of Togo, my friend and brother, Fuad Nsingbe, President Obasanjo, ECOWAS leadership, AU, distinguished friends of Africa and supporters, ladies and gentlemen. President Obasanjo, we're not going to challenge you. We're not going to imitate you. We're very proud of it. I bring you a warm greeting from the people of the Republic of Liberia, a nation that has traveled a long, difficult path from conflict to peace, from despair to hope, from destruction to renewal. It is a pleasure to return to Lomé, this time to participate in the second edition of the Lomé Peace and Security Forum. This important gathering is not only a platform for addressing complex challenges facing our world, but also reaffirm Lomé's historic role in mediating peace in our region and strengthening African solidarity. I vividly recall how warring factions from Liberia and Sierra Leone, once safe haven here, engaging in dialogue that resulted in the historic Lomé Peace Accord for both nations. The importance of those accords lies in their creation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the Special Court, two institutions that brought justice and healing. Lomé has therefore earned a legacy that commands respect and gratitude. It was in this spirit that I gladly accepted the invitation from my brother, the Excellency Fuad Nsingbe, to come and share a few reflections with you. At the age of 80, I stand before you as a witness to history and a student of lessons. I've experienced the painful tremors that led to Liberia's 1980 coup, the dark years of civil conflict, and the long, arduous journey toward reconciliation and renewal. I have seen devastating consequences of instability and extraordinary resilience of people. In 2003, a cracked comprehensive peace agreement, born of region in cooperation, relentless diplomacy, paved the way for peace and established institutions like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which sought to heal the deep wounds of our nation. It is within the context that I find the theme of this year's forum, Africa Facing Complex Security Challenges, how to build and consolidate peace and stability in a changing world, both timely and crucial. Liberia understands too well the cause of conflict. For over a decade, our civil war tore apart the social fabrics, displaced thousands, and destroyed our institutions. Yet, we also stand today as a living proof that peace is possible when the nation chooses dialogue over division and forgiveness over vengeance. Our path to peace has been rooted in national ownership, reconciliation, community empowerment, and sustained partnerships. To confront our painful past, Liberia established a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. As President, I have sought to implement its recommendations because there can be no lasting peace without justice and reconciliation. That is why I issued a formal apology to the victims of Liberia's civil war, a moment of national reflection and moral renewal. It was essential for the state to acknowledge its role in the conflict and to restore dignity in those who suffered. This was followed by symbolic rebellion of former President William Talbot, Samuel Kayando, and the 13 members of the Talbot cabinet decades after their tragic executions. This act was not about politics, but about truth, reconciliation, and dignity. Today, my administration is working towards establishing a War and Economic Crime Court, an important step to ensure accountability for the atrocities and economic crimes of the past. We believe that accountability strengthens peace, not weakens it. To prevent repetition and promote remembrance, we are also addressing national amnesia by memorizing the victims of the conflict, including the West African peacekeepers who lost their lives in the line of duty. We continue to honor ECOWAS for its selfless role in restoring peace to Liberia. Liberia peace had lasted for over 2 decades because it is owned by the people. The chiefs, the women groups, youth organizations, and civil society became the backbone of post-war recovery. They mediated disputes, rebuilt communities, and restored trust where the state was absent. They demonstrated that peace can start from the grassroots through persistent and moral strength. We have learned that rebuilding roads and buildings means little if we neglect to heal the human spirit. Reconciliation requires honesty, empathy, and forgiveness. Peace is not just the silence of guns. It is the presence of justice, opportunity, and hope. Weak institutions breed instability. Liberia has therefore prioritized good governance, the rule of law, and human rights. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission revealed how corruption, exclusion, and institutional failure became the root causes of conflict. To address these systemic issues, my government is implementing reforms to promote responsive governance, accountability, and equitable development. We believe that institutional reform and economic renewal must go hand in hand to correct the past injustices and secure a better future for all Liberians. Your Excellencies, we gather here at a defining moment for our continent. Across Africa, from the Sahel to the Horn, from the Great Lakes to the Mara River Basin, peace and stability have been tested by old and new challenges. Coups, violent extremism, and resource-based conflict continue to threaten our collective security. At the same time, misinformation, climate change, economic inadequacy, and inequality are deepening fragility. But Africa must never be defined by crisis. We must be defined by courage. We have the wisdom, the resilience, and the creativity to shape our own destiny. As an African proverb teaches us, when the spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. This reminds us that the strength of our strength lies in unity and collective effort. The peace we seek must be homegrown, created by Africans, owned by Africans, and sustained by Africans. Liberia's experience helped to define an African approach to peace building, one that focuses not only on peacekeeping, but also on conflict prevention and regional cooperation. With the support of ECOWAS, the African Union, the United Nations, Liberia reformed its security institutions and strengthened its democracy. Our peace is intertwined with that of our neighbors. Through the Mara River Union, we continue to deepen cooperation with Sierra Leone, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, to ensure that our borders become bridges of opportunity rather than barriers of suspicion. We are revitalizing the early warning system, promoting cross-border trade, and encouraging dialogue to prevent the spread of instability. Peace in West Africa must be collective, for no nation can be secure while its neighbors are in turmoil. To sustain peace and security, Africa must address the fractures and the sources of fragility. First, we must invest in inclusive political processes grounded in democratic norms and institutional integrity. Legitimate and participatory government builds trust and reduces the risk of conflict. Second, success is access to justice, and it must be universal. Justice is right, not a privilege, and it is central to peace and stability. Third, human security must be prioritized. True security is not only about the absence of war, but also the protection from poverty, disease, and environmental degradation. Fourth, promote economic inclusion, especially for youth and women. Improving the economy by creating the right conditions for growth will foster sustainable livelihood, expand access to essential services, and reduce the risk of long-lasting social conflict. The illegal migration of youth across deserts and oceans to Europe and America through dangerous terrain in search of better opportunities and the influence of war entrepreneurs have become one of the most troubling and persistent images reflecting our conflict and socioeconomic struggles. Our youth, many of whom are victims of war, should be rebuilding their nation, investing in their welfare, including education, innovation, and inclusion, should not be seen as charity. It must be a peace-building strategy. Through economic inclusion, the state can build resilience, strengthen social contact between the government and its citizens, and improve state-society relations. Fourth, we must promote economic inclusion, especially for women and youth. Investing in education, innovation, and the livelihood is not charity. It is a peace-building strategy. Finally, regional and constitutional institutions such as ECOWAS, continental institutions such as ECOWAS, African Union, Mana River Union, must be empowered to lead in the early warning and preventive diplomacy. Your Excellencies, peace must be both continental priority and a global partnership rooted in fairness and respect for African agency. As Liberia returns to the United Nations Security Council, we do so as a humble messenger of Africa's experience that peace, though fragile, is possible when anchored in justice and inclusion. The lesson from Liberia is simple yet profound. Peace is not a destination, it is a journey, one that every generation must work with renewed commitment. May the experience of Liberia remind the world that Africa's peace is the world's peace. May peace reign across our continent. May it bless those who support peace. I want to thank President Yadema for being bold and brave in trying to foster peace in Africa. Thank you.
Sincère gratitude à son Excellence Monsieur Joseph Boakai, président de la République du Liberia, pour ses chaleureux propos à l'occasion de ce Lomé Peace and Security Forum. Toute notre gratitude à lui.